At the start of 2022, Manchester City would spend £18 million to sign River Plate striker Julián Álvarez, which would be loaned back to River Plate until the end of the season, officially joining Manchester City at the start of the 2022-23 season, along with Erling Haaland, to help bolster City's attack after spending the previous two seasons playing with a false nine and no out-and-out vocal point up top. And it worked wonders, with Haaland breaking the Premier League goal scoring record and Álvarez being a suitable alternative to Haaland and scoring goals in majority of the games that he played, and City would win the treble. And as of this week, the last few weeks, it has been rumoured that Julián Álvarez will be leaving Manchester City, and today we're here to talk about that. But before I get into this video, please do like the video if you enjoyed, and comment down below your opinions on Julián Álvarez's time at Man City, and if you think it is right for City to let him go. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I kind of want to hit 500 subscribers before the end of the year, and our support as of recent has been amazing, and I can't thank you guys enough. And I think 500 by the end of the year is definitely a doable goal, so please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if this is the first video of one you're watching, please do check out the rest of the videos on the channel by clicking the channel button down below. You definitely won't be disappointed by the content on the channel already, and it might even further encourage you to subscribe to the channel. But with all that being said, let's talk about Julián Álvarez. So since joining City in 2022 and making his debut later on in that year, he would score 36 times for City as a backup striker, which I don't think is a bad tally at all, and he was very important to the team in Haaland's absence, especially in the 22-23 season. But as we came into the following season, Álvarez would be used a bit differently. He wouldn't just be used to deputise for Haaland, but he would also be brought in to play in midfield for, whilst KDB was absent. And I don't think that was the right decision to make. I think as a striker, as a backup striker, Álvarez is excellent. And he could even be an excellent starting striker for a club that doesn't have an excellent first choice striker like Haaland. But he can't play in all these other roles. He can't play on the left wing and he can't play in midfield. And that was seen last season, definitely. I even made a video talking about it after his shocking first half performance at Anfield in a must-win game at the end of the season. Obviously, we didn't win that game and it didn't end up mattering with us going on to win the league. But at the time, it was a must-win game, and anything but a win was seen as a loss. And luckily, in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really matter. But his first half performance was abysmal. He looked awful. He looked so out of place on that left wing. And he was basically the reason that Liverpool were getting so many chances in the first half. And it was, right to see him be subbed off when he was. But you look at Álvarez, and you look at Álvarez when he plays at striker, and you look at Álvarez when he plays anywhere else on the pitch, and they're two completely different players. But people seem to think because of his size and because he's slightly more agile than Haaland, they think he's a better footballer and better all-round footballer than Haaland, which I don't think is the case. I think they're very, very similar in their skill set, but I think Haaland probably edges him in footballing ability and footballing IQ. I think they are both outrageously good finishers, but unfortunately, Haaland is better than Álvarez at finishing. Haaland is better than Álvarez in the air. He's stronger than Álvarez, and he poses more of a threat than Álvarez. So obviously, Haaland is going to be the starting striker. And I don't think Álvarez can really complain about that. But Álvarez did play some of, if not the most minutes for City last season across a multitude of roles. So it's not like he's not getting the game time that he thinks he deserves. He might not be getting the game time in his preferred position, and that's obviously a different argument and something that he can definitely be annoyed about. But he is getting the game time wherever that be on the pitch. And he has come out and said that last season I was one of the players with the most minutes at City, but in the end, you don't like being left out of the important matches. You want to contribute. I'll take my time to think about what I want for myself. We'll see. And I don't really get this. I don't really get this statement. Because, yes, he did play some of the most minutes for City, as we've already discussed, right? But he wasn't left out of the important matches. Like I said, he played at Anfield in a must-win game. He played a considerable amount of minutes off the bench against Real Madrid and against Man United in the FA Cup final. He has played in important games. he has scored important goals as well. Like, he's been an important player for City. Whether he's always played the best in these important games is up for discussion and is a very debatable thing. But he has played important games and he has played a lot of minutes for City. So I don't understand his argument. And Pep would respond to what Alvarez said by saying, I read that he's going to think about it. Okay, think about it. Then he will inform us about what he wants to do. Julián played a lot. He wants more. It's fine. So that's why, think about it. And when he thinks about it, he will inform us. And I think this is Pep's way of saying, he played a lot for us. I gave him a chance to play a lot because he wanted to play. And if that's not good enough for him, then he can leave. I'm not going to give him even more minutes because the minutes we gave him were definitely sufficient. And I 100% agree with that. And I don't want Pep to keep shoehorning him into positions that he can't play just to please the player, because we've got players that can play these roles better than him. We've got Grealish, we've got Oscar Bob, we've now got Savio, we've got Bernardo Silva, we've got De Bruyne, we've got Foden, we've now got McAtee. Like, we've got these players that can play these positions. We don't just need to throw Alvarez in there to keep him happy. Yes, he might be a huge loss as a backup to Haaland, and his goals will be missed when Haaland's not eligible to play. But I think the negatives, like keeping him at the club and forcing him into the team just to keep him happy for the minutes that he plays, I think the negatives to that definitely outweigh the positives, and we could definitely find a backup striker that is willing to be a backup striker and doesn't want to, be the main man at the club. There are definitely people that are happy to be second choice that can give us the sort of impact that Alvarez had as a backup, and we should explore those options, especially if we are able to sell Alvarez. And obviously with Alvarez saying that he not too sure if he's going to stay at City, that has sparked interest from a few clubs. Arsenal and Chelsea, both in the Premier League, are monitoring the situation and are interested in bringing him to their club. Whether they're going to make a bid or not, who knows. And Atletico Madrid definitely wants to try sign Alvarez, but they think the asking price of £80 million is a bit too steep. And I would probably agree with them. I would probably agree that a player that we signed for £18 million and that hasn't exactly lit the world on fire and been the main man in our team, I don't think the increase of £72 million to his price tag is probably justified. And I can understand a team like Atletico not wanting to pay that despite having to replace Alvaro Morata, who obviously left the club earlier in the window. But then when it comes to Chelsea and Arsenal, I don't necessarily want to sell to these clubs, especially after Zinchenko, Jesus, Sterling and Palmer. I don't want to strengthen our competitors, right? But at the same time, are you really going to say no to an £80 million bid? If one of these two put in an £80 million bid, right, for Alvarez, could you really say no? Because obviously, when we sold Sterling, when we sold Jesus, when we sold Palmer, those fees were anywhere between 30 and 50 million pounds, right? Which is what I realistically think Alvarez should be valued at. And if they came in for a £50 million bid, no. Even though I think that's his valuation, no, I do not think we should be selling to those two clubs. Now, if Atletico Madrid came in for a 50 to 60 million pound bid, I would be inclined to be like, yes, we should accept that. We're still making a considerable amount of profit, and you don't want to keep an unhappy player at the club, especially with there still being Phillips and Cancelo's futures that need to be decided on by the club. We shouldn't add another unhappy player to our books. So yeah, I could understand a 50 to 60 million pound bid from an Atletico Madrid or a team outside of the Premier League or outside of the top six at least. But for a team like Arsenal and Chelsea, I think the only acceptable bid would be an £80 million bid, would be them overpaying. Because then, even if he goes on to be a success for either of those two teams and helps them win a trophy of some sort, at least we have made considerable profit on the player, and we've we have fleeced them out of money, basically. Whether that he becomes a success or not, we have still made them overpay for a player. So, you know, I do think that if we can get 50 to 60 million from a team that's not a competitor, or if we can get the 80 million, which I do think is still a bit steep, from a competitor, I think we should definitely let Alvarez go. Take the profit and reinvest that into other areas of the squad. Because at the moment, especially from the last two transfer windows, given the treble prize given the treble prize winning money, given the sale of Palmer, you have the sales of obviously some of the other youth players that we've sold. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but we have definitely made money on academy graduates, with Palmer being the standout, right? Still some of the treble winning money left, obviously. Whether that has been invested into the club in other aspects, who knows? But we definitely are at a net positive when it comes to transfers at the moment. Believe it or not, City have at some point been in a net positive, which some people will not believe, right? So taking even more money and even more profit from Alvarez would definitely be a plus, but it would need to be reinvested. I wouldn't want to sell Alvarez and then not bring in another signing. I think that would be stupid, and I think that would be irrational. And that has been something that we as a club have been doing as of recent. And like I said in my Liverpool video, like that criticism that I levied at Liverpool isn't just a criticism at Liverpool, and it's not just me, you know, hoping that they'll be bad and me criticising the club. It is something that even City have been guilty of, and I don't want us to continue being guilty of it. I want us to sell these players that potentially do not want to be at the club, Phillips, Cancelo, Alvarez, and get them gone, but also reinvest that money. If we're going to sell these players, whether they're toxic to the dressing room or not, we need replacements, because we can't just keep like thinning out the squad depth and not replacing these players, because at some point the academy players aren't going to be good enough, and then the squad's going to be too thin, and the senior players that we already have aren't going to be good enough anymore, with them declining their ability due to them aging and their careers just getting on. And we're going to be at a point where we are in a bit of a crisis, and I don't want us to end up in that position. So I do think if we do sell Alvarez this summer, which I can't see happening due to the valuation that we've set him at, we need to reinvest that money. We need to sign people in the sixth position, another right back, and potentially even another 8. And if we sell Alvarez, obviously look at a backup striker. We definitely do need to improve in these positions if we're going to keep letting people go in these positions. I don't think that's common sense, and I don't think that's something that should be obviously criticised. I think that's it is just common sense. But let me know down below if you think that City should sell Alvarez, if it is right for them to sell Alvarez, and if you think that or you don't think he's going to go and you think he is overpriced, because like I said, I definitely do think that valuation is a bit steep, and I don't think that any club is willing to pay that money. But people make dumb financial decisions all the time, and especially given Alvarez's CV, all the trophies that he's won, him being part of a treble winning team, it will boost his reputation, and maybe some smaller clubs in Europe would see him and be like, yes, we want him to be our main man, we want him to be our focal point, he's a star. And again, I could definitely see that happening. But again, with that being said, leave your comments down below. I do enjoy reading your guys' comments and your guys' opinions. You don't always have to agree with me. I do enjoy reading counter arguments and being involved in the discussion in the comments. Yeah, and also like the video if you enjoyed. Like I said already, your engagement helps the channel a lot, helps the channel grow. So leave a like if you did enjoy, even leave a dislike if you didn't enjoy. I couldn't really care. I just like the engagement. I like interacting with you guys. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Again, 500 subscribers by the end of the year. I think that's definitely an achievable goal. And check out the rest of the videos on the channel. There will be 2 linked at the end of this sentence, so either click on those videos when they pop up on screen, or check out the channel page, watch the videos there, and while you're on the channel page, please do again subscribe to the channel. But with all that being said, I've been Nathan, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.
Shut down cases, they belly dots to the can't see faces, chasing the bad guy chase it. You don't wanna be the one like Ace and like GTA trying to turn them out wasted. Aye, tell a bad bitch come break it, body come mad, come shake it, then get back to the basics, bro, done shut down cases, they belly dots to the